Wow, okay, I'm back. This is week 23 and I'm ready to do an update, and I'm so happy to be able to do this update. We're going on 6 months, and all I can say is 6 months is a long time. It's a long time. I never would have thought that it would have resulted in all of this after the accident, but here I am. And I have some good news. I also have some updates that I want to give you from the week since I did part 3. So I did go back to see the surgeon, and of course I did have another x-ray done. It's healing with scar tissue, which we knew. Nothing looks wrong. It's just taking its sweet time. So the thumb test, and I got to tell you about this one because I thought it was like so unscientific. He pushed his thumb around where the break was, and that's fine here, but there is a spot as you move towards my neck, and he kind of was pushing, and I'm like, no, that doesn't hurt, and then he hit a spot, and oh my goodness, my knees buckled. I literally went down. And I thought, okay, that's the spot. So the determination after asking me what my capabilities were and seeing how I could move was that external rotation that I'm still having a hard time with, when that locks up, that is an indication of frozen shoulder. And the physiotherapist had alluded to that, but didn't want to sort of say as a confirmation that yes, this is frozen shoulder without me going back to the surgeon. So I have been diagnosed with frozen shoulder. Nobody knows quite what causes this phenomenon. Apparently, if you spend time immobilized, even up to a week, can cause frozen shoulder. But not everyone who is immobilized due to an injury gets frozen shoulder, and some people who never have an actual traumatic injury but might lift something the wrong way or do something wrong, and that can cause the shoulder to freeze up. I'm assuming that it's a defensive mechanism where, you know, something almost goes wrong or goes wrong, and the shoulder says, oh, gotta lock up. So at the top of the humerus, I'm gonna get scientific for just a tiny minute here. So the humerus is the bone in your arm. And this is the top of the bone. It sits in the shoulder girdle, and the top of the humerus bone is encapsulated with, it's a band of usually stretchy material. So flexible and fluid, but strong. When you get frozen shoulder, that covering, it gets very, very stiff. So if you can imagine putting an elastic band in the freezer and taking it out and trying to stretch it, it's now very hard. It doesn't want to stretch easily. And I think for however it happens to protect the shoulder joint. And then at some point it relaxes and stops doing that and goes away. Nobody knows how long it takes for that to happen. Some people have frozen shoulder for a month. Some people it's 3 to 6 months. Some people it can last up to a year. So basically this started for me when I started physio, and I've had it ever since, and I still have it. But I'm progressing. So let's move on. I wanted to share with you some of the beautiful fall colors that are coming out now. It's absolutely gorgeous. I know I missed a better part of the summer, or at least couldn't appreciate it as I normally would, but I just definitely want to at least enjoy the visuals on fall. So just a quick update here. I have not rebroken anything. I'm actually trying something. So I have a follow-up appointment booked with the surgeon, and I had physiotherapy this morning. I was speaking with my physiotherapist and just mentioning how everything that I'm doing that includes shoulder flexion, which is raising my arm on its own past belly button level, is now hurting, and that pinch is not going away even at rest. So right now for weeks my arm has not been in a sling, and my only instructions have been use it but don't lift anything heavy. Now I'm at the point where using it hurts. So my question to the physiotherapist was, should I just not be doing forward flexion, or at least not to the point where I start to feel it? And because I'm seeing the surgeon again, my physiotherapist told me it actually obviously wouldn't hurt to maybe stop using it until I speak with the surgeon. Now that didn't mean put it back in the sling, but for me, if my arm is not in a sling, I don't know about you, I'm using my arm. I mean, it's just a natural thing. If I need that extra hand, it naturally is reaching and doing things that are uncomfortable. So I find myself at the end of every day really sore. And then of course my sleep is affected, and it just seems to be this cycle that's not getting any better. So I have decided that I am going to hit the rewind button to go back to something that I know worked. Because of course, fresh from a break, it was put in a sling and it did start to get better. It was getting quite a bit better until it wasn't. My hope now is that this is not long term whatsoever. I want to do maybe 3 days wearing it through the portion of the day where I would otherwise perhaps be using my arm. So I'm kind of doing a forced don't use it. Now, you might be wondering why the wrist guard. When my shoulder can't go any further, my wrist is compensating. So if I'm trying to scratch my hip, rather than bringing my arm back and scratching my hip, I can only bring my arm back so far, and then my wrist is curling to do the rest of the work. Over time, I now have days where my wrist is bothering me. And I'm trying to just prevent all of this. I'm just fed up with the whole situation, and I'm telling my arm basically, that's it, you're done, stop, don't move, we're resetting. Because I'm getting better, and that's that. So I'm giving myself a few days. This is Thanksgiving weekend, and I really want to be comfortable. On Sunday we're having a dinner. I really want to be comfortable. So I'm giving it a few days to settle, and I'm hoping that that's going to work, and I will keep you posted. So this first exercise, the purpose of it is twofold. It is to strengthen my calf muscle, and it's also to gain flexibility in this movement because I'm having trouble bending my foot up more than sort of here. And all I'm going to do is just drop my heels down till I feel a stretch in the back of my legs, and then I want to come back up, and it's the up movement that helps to strengthen the muscle. I'm just going to do a number of them here. This is actually the first time that I have done this exercise since the accident. So I'm feeling it already. This is still a little bit tender in my injured side. It's not the ankle that hurts. I actually have some discomfort through the foot, the top of my foot, the side of my foot. So that's where I feel it. Oh, rotate my ankle a little bit. It's snapping and cracking. There are some different pops that never used to be there that are there now. I don't know if that's permanent. We'll see. I can deal with that. So now I'm just going to drop my heels as low as I can. And this does not hurt at all. So that's a really nice new exercise that I'm quite happy to do. Another one that he wanted me to do, I'm going to do it here on this low step to start with. And it was just to keep my foot there and tap. And that's actually, this low step, I think is all I can do. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this on a normal step yet because there just isn't the movement there in the ankle. And then another one that he wanted me to do was the same thing, but facing sideways. And touch and come back up. Touch and come back up. So on the bigger step, yeah. No. I am not able to bend enough. So what I'm supposed to be doing, I'll do it with my good foot, is touch and then up. Touch and up. Keeping my foot flat on the top step with the heel down and everything. So if I try to do that here, I just
really can't. That's about as far as I can go. So if I do the side one though, actually this one's not bad. Keeping my hips in line though, and that's maybe I'm cheating a little bit. Yeah, this one's not so bad. So there's hope. I can kind of get my toe down. Ooh. Okay, I really feel that.
So week 16 was a tough one for me. I was still in a lot of pain. I developed basically a very tight knot, sort of in the back of my neck on this side, and I could feel like this hard ball of tense muscle. And it was very painful, and it was limiting my ability to turn my head. It was achy all the time. So I started to use an essential oil called Deep Blue by doTERRA. And you can dilute it, but I used it full strength. I would put 2 drops on my hand, and I just would knead it as hard as I could. And it would be tender, very, very tender. I did this 3 times a day, so every 4 hours I would sit down and knead and knead and knead for probably 10 minutes or so. And as I was pushing down, like, because you have oil on your fingers, you can slide, so I would feel pop, 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 all these little, it almost felt like bubbles, you know, and working themselves out. So by the end of day 4, after doing this 3 times a day, that was noticeably improved, huge. No more big bump there, no more pain, so that was a huge improvement. At week 16, I was still sleeping with a small pillow underneath my shoulder to sort of raise the shoulder a little bit. And I was also sleeping with a full-size pillow that I was putting on my stomach because it was more comfortable to have my hands a little bit elevated instead of having them flat on my stomach. So that if I wanted to roll onto my side, the pillow was already there, and even in my sleep, I took it with me. And my arm was supported in a side-lying position, because I never would have been able to lie on my side if my arm would drop across the body. That would compress the shoulder joint and hurt, like, you know what. And the original workaround that I was finding before I started sleeping with the pillow was to stretch my arm out and rest it on my hip if I wanted to roll on my side, but that meant that my arm was just straight and on my hip for the entire duration of lying that way. It was comfortable, but it's more comfortable to have something so that your arm can come up and be next to you. So now moving on to week 17, I was able to start doing physiotherapy again on my shoulder. Lovely. It hurt, and actually there's a clip of one of the movements that I tried to do, well, have been doing here, but it was so painful in the beginning that wow. And you know, since then obviously it's gotten much better. that was not fun. On the plus side, in week 17, my ankle, I was for the first time able to start coming up onto my toe just with that foot. So supporting my body weight and lifting myself up onto my toe, and that was huge. Not much change between week 17 and 20. I kept doing my physiotherapy, and I did notice that especially with flexion, so forward reaching, my range of motion continues to improve. And even at that point, I was finding suddenly I was able to open a cupboard door with that hand again, or maybe able to reach the salt on the bottom shelf, but that was a lot more than I had been able to do up to that point. So week 20, the breakthrough for me was that I started to sleep without that little pillow underneath my shoulder, and that was the first time since the accident happened where I was able to do that, and I didn't wake up in pain all night. So that was huge. By week 21, I was able to get rid of the big tummy pillow, and I could actually now sleep comfortably with my arms either on my stomach or at my sides. And turning onto my side, I was able to just lean my arm the way everyone else does, but I've kind of taken that for granted over this time period. So yeah, that was comfortable again to sleep on my side. So, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you have to alter your bed because of an injury and you've got stuff everywhere and it just is not normal, it's so nice to just be able to have a normal bed. I make the bed in the morning and I get into it at night, and I'm not putting this pillow there and that pillow here and making sure I can reach this and that. That was a big deal for me. Week 21, I started to feel like life is returning to normal. I have some new stretches that I've been doing with my shoulder as well since I'm gonna say around the 21st week. So it's been a few weeks since I've been doing these two. Which brings us to week 23, which is where I am today. Yesterday, for the first time, I tried jumping. So back to my ankle injury right now. And I was able to jump. I wouldn't try it just on that foot alone ongoing, but I also tried kind of doing a jogging in one place. and it didn't hurt too bad. It's not really comfortable, but I don't feel like I'm doing damage. So I think at this point I need to just keep doing those things. All right, so this footage was recorded at about 5.5 months, and the voice dubbing happened at around just over 6 months. So I'm still at this point. This is me awkwardly trying to balance on my injured foot and come up onto my toes. So I understand that this is actually one of the more difficult things to get back. It will come. It's just going to take a little while. So in the meantime, something to work on. This is what I am most excited about, being able to bounce, jump, doing some jogging here. I actually tried this for the first time the day before I recorded it, and I was so over the moon. I can't even describe how happy I was to be able to do these movements again. It didn't hurt. It felt a little bit awkward. Obviously, I guess that's to be expected. So, you know, my ankle is coming along really nicely, and all I can say is I'm just really happy. Moving on to my shoulder. So I'm still going to physiotherapy twice a week for my shoulder. It is still frozen, but I just wanted to give you an update on how far my range of motion has come, because I am starting to regain some range of motion. So here, obviously reaching out to this side, I was comparing it to my good arm. So my good arm can reach right overhead. Eventually, I will be able to do this again with my injured arm. At this point, this is the very, very farthest that I can take it. And it's funny because as I watched this recording, I kept thinking, okay, I'm going to do it one more time because I can go farther. I know I can, and really I just kind of maxed out. Forward flexion, this is actually pretty impressive. I have very good range of motion here. Now it does require a lot of effort to get my arm that high, because I have to concentrate on pulling back my shoulder blade. Something I've had trouble with right from the beginning, this darned external rotation. So again, as you can see, my good arm comes way out to the side. My injured arm is still really not moving very much. There's a little more motion than there was, but it's still pretty stiff in that movement. Coming out to the side, this was an exercise that I really enjoyed doing with weights when I was fitness training, and I look forward to getting back to that. Reaching behind my back is another one of those ones. So that's internal rotation, and it's a movement that I'm still struggling with, as you can see. I can manually put my arm a little bit further behind me than in this video. So it is starting to move, but it's still very, very stiff. And here you can see, you know, in my healthy arm, I'm able to retract my arm, nice 90-degree angle, and it looks all beautiful. And then you look at my injured arm and it's nope. It's just not going. This is the one that affects me the most. Trying to put my hair up in a ponytail or do anything, you know, above my head, it just isn't happening. So, you know, that's where we're at. I am expected to fully recover. It's just a matter of time now. Time, faith, effort, and most of all, patience. When I first began physiotherapy for my ankle, the measure that they gave me to determine how much I could flex was to put my toe up against the wall and then see if I could touch the wall with my knee. Now at the time, when I tried to do that, my heel would come up off the floor. I could only go about this far. That was it. So now since about the 5-month mark, I've been able to back my foot up significantly and get my knee to the wall without lifting my heel off the floor. So this is a stretch that I will do very frequently and hold it. Now this is another way that I've been working on external rotation. I call it with manual assist because I do use my hand and I sort of use my body to, you know, just put pressure and rotate my ankle. With internal rotation, I'll sit on the floor and twist sort of gently, obviously, my foot till the top of my foot is on the floor and then put some pressure and hold it. So that has helped as well. And this is just at 5 months doing a side lunge. You can see that I have a lot more movement in the ankle joint now. And we've done some decorating for Christmas, and I guess it's a good time to be at this point. The final analysis is that now it's just a matter of time. I continue to gain some range of motion every week, and I'm getting stronger. The physiotherapists tell me that at some point it's just going to kind of go back to normal. So I'm going to keep working on it, and everything is good otherwise. You know, this has definitely been something enlightening for me. It's changed a lot of things in my life. I guess change is inevitable, so I look forward to the coming year. This has been a doozy, and coming into a new year is like a fresh start. It's going to be a wonderful year, and I really have a different perspective on things. If you've been watching this video, thank you so much for following right through to the end. I really appreciate your support. I can't say that enough. Honestly, from my heart, this has been a real journey for me, and being able to share it just makes it meaningful, that much more meaningful. Now, if you actually have undergone this sort of thing and you are in the healing phase, I just wish you absolutely all the best. I hope that your recovery story is a positive one. Obviously, this is not something easy to go through, but there definitely are silver linings everywhere. You just have to look for them. And a quick update as well on my ankle. I have decided to get the plate removed in January. So that's about a month from now. I'm finding that there's a spot underneath my ankle bone where it feels like there's a thumb pushing all the time, and I get a little bit of pain across my foot, and it's sore on the spot where my scar is if I push there. And the surgeon said after 6 months, it's really a very, very minor thing to have it removed. He literally said, all you need is a knife and a screwdriver. And I felt like, oh, great, just put me in the shop. But, you know, recovery time, you get to weight bear right away. All I can't do for a little while afterwards is jump. And it's a very little while. So that's okay. I can go without jumping in the early 2020. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Love you all. Good luck with your recovery. And it's really been a pleasure sharing my story with you.